Money without discipline always slips through the fingers. It's a law as old as time, and you've seen it. Someone wins the lottery, and within a few years, they're broke again. A young athlete signs a $1 million contract, and within a short span, it's gone. Why? Because money is a magnifier, not a savior. Money only makes you more of what you already are. If someone is careless, more money makes them more careless. If someone is disciplined, more money makes them more disciplined. Discipline is the guardrail. Without it, prosperity becomes disaster. I've met people who prayed for more money, who begged for opportunity, but they never built the character to handle it. And when it came, it crushed them. Money can build schools, feed the hungry, fund dreams, but money can also wreck families, ruin friendships, and leave a trail of regret if it falls into the hands of someone unprepared. I learned early that discipline is the partner of wealth, not talent, not luck, discipline. Discipline to save, discipline to invest, discipline to say no. Most people think the answer is more money, but more money without discipline is like pouring water into a basket. The more you pour, the more it leaks, and people will stand there puzzled, asking why their life doesn't change. It doesn't change because the habits haven't changed. Wealth has very little to do with income and everything to do with behavior. I've seen people with modest wages retire in comfort. I've seen people with huge salaries end up with nothing. The difference was never the paycheck. The difference was discipline. Discipline creates the reservoir. Discipline builds the dam that lets you store what you earn and direct where it flows. And here's the challenge. Discipline is not natural. The natural impulse is to spend, to indulge, to satisfy the moment. Discipline is learned. Discipline is forged. Discipline is practiced until it becomes part of the fabric of your life. Without it, money becomes a burden instead of a blessing. With it, money becomes a servant instead of a master. So when you hear someone say they just need more money, stop them. The real question is whether they have more discipline. Because discipline first, then money. Discipline first, then opportunity. Discipline first, then freedom. That is the order that never fails. I remember watching a friend make a little more money than usual one month. He went out, bought a brand new stereo, a stack of records, and spent the rest on nights out. At the end of the month, he was broke again. Same as before, but now with a little more clutter in the house. That's when it struck me. More money doesn't fix poor habits. It exposes them. Think about it. A person makes $2,000 a month, spends $2,200, and lives in debt. Then they get a raise. Now they make $3,000. What happens? Do they save the extra $800? Not usually. They spend $3,300. The car gets bigger, the apartment more expensive. The bills grow fatter. Why? Because without discipline, lifestyle always rises faster than income. The key is to stop that pattern before it takes root. Because once it becomes habit, money becomes a treadmill. You run faster, but you never get ahead. People mistake movement for progress. They think a bigger paycheck equals security. It doesn't. Security comes from discipline. Security comes from managing the dollar, not multiplying it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone with a bucket full of holes. You can pour in gallons of water, but it still empties out. That bucket is your financial life without discipline. Discipline is what patches the holes. You can't hold wealth until you've sealed the leaks. That's why the first step isn't earning more. It's keeping more. Learn to save when you earn a little, and you'll be ready when you earn a lot. Fail to save when it's small, and you'll fail just the same when it's large. People often ask, how much should you save? I say it's not the amount, it's the principle. Save $1 from 10. Save 10 from 100. Save 100 from 1,000. The numbers change, but the act trains the mind. Saving is not about the sum, it's about the discipline. It's the proof that you can govern yourself. If you cannot manage $1, the universe will not trust you with 1 million. And don't think discipline means deprivation. It doesn't. Discipline is the gatekeeper that lets you enjoy wealth without destroying yourself. Buy the suit, take the trip, enjoy the meal, but do it within the boundaries you've set. Freedom without boundaries is chaos. Wealth without discipline is ruin. So you have to ask, what are the small leaks in your bucket? The little habits that drain away your future? Is it the coffee habit, the dinner's out, the impulse to buy every gadget that catches your eye? It's not the giant mistakes that ruin most people. It's the small ones repeated over and over until the future is sold off $5 at a time. Discipline isn't about denying yourself forever. It's about saying yes to the future more often than you say yes to the moment. You give up a little now to gain a lot later. That's the trade. That's the seed you plant. You may not reap tomorrow, but harvest always comes to the one who plants and protects the seed. Without discipline, money disappears. With discipline, money multiplies. That's the law. There's a strange thing about human nature. People think the test is when things are hard, but the real test often comes when things are easy, when there's plenty, when the paycheck is good, when the cupboards are full. That's when discipline gets tested. Scarcity forces discipline on you. Abundance asks if you will choose it. I watched someone inherit a good sum of money once. For a while, they were thrilled, bought new furniture, a new car, even started a couple of ventures that they didn't really think out. Within 2 years, every dollar was gone, not a trace left. Why? Because money was in their hands, but discipline was not in their character. They had resources, but not restraint. They had opportunity, but not order. And isn't that the story repeated again and again? History is filled with nations that rose to wealth, then fell, because they lost the discipline that created it. Families build fortunes in one generation and lose them in the next. It's never just the money. It's the discipline that either preserves or destroys it. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Money doesn't teach discipline. Discipline teaches money. People think if they just had more, they would become more careful. But the opposite is true. More only magnifies. The one who is sloppy with a little will be reckless with a lot. That's why the old saying is true. Faithful with little, faithful with much. The habits formed in scarcity are the same habits that protect you in abundance. Discipline creates structure, and structure is freedom. Think of a river. Without banks, water is just a flood. With banks, it becomes a force that can turn turbines, create energy, sustain life. Wealth is the same. Without discipline, it floods and destroys. With discipline, it channels into power and progress. Now, some people say discipline is too rigid, too restrictive. But let me tell you, discipline is the only way to taste true freedom. The person who spends recklessly becomes a slave to debt. The one who saves and invests with discipline buys freedom of time, freedom of choice, freedom of direction. You can't call it freedom if creditors call the shots. Discipline is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the training ground for freedom. Every dollar you hold back, every impulse you resist, every budget you honor, it's a rehearsal for a better future. If you can't practice discipline with one paycheck, how will you handle 10? If you can't control one desire, how will you master the many that wealth brings? And here's the final test. When prosperity comes, will you hold on to the disciplines that built it, or will you abandon them? Because nothing disappears faster than wealth in the hands of someone who thinks the rules no longer apply. The day you outgrow discipline is the day you begin losing what you worked for. So don't resent discipline. Don't fight it. Don't treat it as an enemy. Treat it as the safeguard of your wealth, the protector of your future, the quiet voice that reminds you to wait now so that later will be better. Without it, prosperity will pass through your hands like sand. With it, prosperity will build into something lasting. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a farmer who eats the seed instead of planting it. The harvest never comes. Year after year, he sits in disappointment, wondering why the fields are bare. Yet the reason is simple. He consumed today what was meant to multiply tomorrow. That's what happens when there's no financial discipline. People eat the seed. They spend the money that was meant to be invested. They trade the future for the present, and then they wonder why the future never improves. Discipline is the farmer's wisdom. Discipline says to keep some back, plant it, protect it, and give it time to grow. Without that, all you get is temporary satisfaction and long-term regret. With it, you get a cycle of plenty that builds year after year. Now think about the person who receives a paycheck. They face the same choice as the farmer. Spend it all now or keep some aside for tomorrow. The disciplined one sets aside the seed, savings, investments, reserves. The undisciplined one spends it all. And when crisis comes, one has options, the other has excuses. Here's the principle. Discipline turns money into capital. Capital is what changes lives. Capital buys freedom, funds ideas, creates opportunity. But capital only exists when you discipline yourself not to consume everything. Without discipline, money never becomes capital. It just becomes a string of purchases and receipts, gone as quickly as it came. Discipline is also what allows small beginnings to grow into something large. People often dismiss saving $5 or 10 or 20. They think it's too little to matter. But that's not the point. The point is not the amount, it's the direction. $5 saved puts you on a path that 50,000 can later walk on. 0 saved keeps you stuck, no matter how much you earn. Discipline is not measured by the size of the deposit, but by the habit of making one. And discipline is contagious. It spills into every area of life. The one who disciplines their money often learns to discipline their time, their health, their words. And before long, they find themselves living a different kind of life. Not a life of accident, but a life of design. Not a life of regret, but a life of purpose. Here's another truth. Undisciplined money leads to regret twice. Once when it's spent on something fleeting, and again when the opportunity arises that you can't afford. You buy what doesn't matter, then miss what does. That's the high price of low discipline. On the other hand, disciplined money rewards twice. Once in the satisfaction of control, and again when the right door opens and you have the means to walk through it. So remember the farmer. Don't eat the seed. Don't consume everything today and rob yourself of tomorrow. Hold back. Plant. Protect. That little act of discipline changes everything, because money without discipline disappears, but money with discipline multiplies. One of the greatest tests of discipline is how you handle obstacles, because obstacles always come. The car breaks down, the roof leaks, the company cuts hours, a medical bill arrives. Life has a way of testing whether you've prepared or not. And here's what I've noticed. Undisciplined money panics. Disciplined money adjusts. When you've built the habit of setting something aside, emergencies don't feel like disasters. They're just adjustments. You draw from the reserve, patch the problem, and keep moving forward. But when you've spent it all, every setback feels like the end of the world. A flat tire turns into a crisis. A small downturn feels like ruin. Why? Because no discipline means no margin. And without margin, life becomes a constant state of pressure. Discipline builds margin. Margin gives peace. It's not just about numbers in a bank account. It's about freedom from worry. When you know you've disciplined yourself, you walk different. You stand taller. You face challenges with a steady hand. But when you've neglected discipline, every challenge feels like a mountain. A couple of boxers, one has trained hard, built endurance, studied the craft. The other skipped workouts, ignored the diet, and came in unprepared. Which one weathers the punches? The one with discipline. Money is the same. Financial blows come to everyone. Discipline is what lets you absorb them, recover, and keep fighting. Without it, one hit can knock you out. Now here's something interesting. Obstacles can actually strengthen your discipline if you let them. Every time you face a problem and use your reserves wisely, you reinforce the habit. You prove to yourself that discipline works. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it grows. The undisciplined person gets weaker with every setback because panic becomes the habit. The disciplined person gets stronger because self-control becomes the habit. And don't miss this. Discipline is not just for hard times, it's especially for good times. It's easy to think discipline is only needed when you're struggling. But the truth is, abundance without discipline creates the biggest disasters. A sudden windfall without preparation often destroys faster than scarcity ever could. The person who can't say no when they have a little will drown when they have a lot. That's why I say, obstacles aren't your enemy. They're your training. They test whether you've been disciplined or not. And every test has a lesson. If you failed before, use that pain as your reminder. If you succeeded, let it push you to keep going. Discipline is the strength that keeps wealth from slipping away. It's what steadies the hand, calms the mind, and turns obstacles into stepping stones. Without it, money disappears at the first punch. With it, money stays, grows, and works for you, even when life throws its worst. Discipline with money doesn't stand alone. It touches everything. You can't separate financial habits from the rest of life. The way you handle a dollar often mirrors the way you handle an hour, or a promise, or even your health. That's why some people rise, not because they earn more, but because discipline flows through every part of their character. So discipline is not a narrow rule book about dollars. It is the art of governing yourself in all things. It is the proof that you can be trusted with more money, more time, more responsibility, more influence. And here's the good news. When you develop discipline in one area, it strengthens the others. Save a little money, you begin to value time. Guard your words, you begin to guard your health. It's a chain reaction. That's why money without discipline disappears. But discipline itself multiplies. You may begin with one small act, saving $1, resisting one purchase. But it grows into a character that shapes your whole life. And soon, you find yourself not just wealthy in money, but wealthy in health, wealthy in relationships, wealthy in influence. The principle is universal. Discipline protects and multiplies whatever it touches. Without it, everything leaks away. With it, everything gains strength. Life always comes down to choices. You either drift or you decide. You either let circumstances write your story or you pick up the pen yourself. And nowhere is that clearer than in the matter of money and discipline. Drift leads to debt, to regret, to scarcity. Decision leads to order, to growth, to freedom. Every day you stand at that crossroads. You can spend everything, live for the moment, and hope the future somehow takes care of itself. Or you can decide that part of today belongs to tomorrow. You can decide that discipline is not a punishment, but a path. The choice is yours. The danger is that drifting feels easier. It feels lighter in the short run. You don't have to think, you don't have to plan, you don't have to deny yourself. But drifting always demands payment later, and the bill is higher than you imagined. Decision feels harder at first. It requires thought, restraint, effort. But decision pays you back with compound interest. It multiplies what you start with. So, ask yourself, will you drift or will you decide? Will you let money slip through your fingers or will you harness it? Will you let discipline feel like a burden or will you embrace it as your ally? Those who decide step into a different future. They don't just earn a living. They design a life. They don't just survive, they build. And the clock is always ticking. Every day you delay discipline is a day you trade for something temporary. Every day you practice discipline is a day you invest in something lasting. The choice compounds, whether you like it or not. Drift compounds into debt. Discipline compounds into wealth. So let this be the moment. Draw the line. Say to yourself, enough drifting, enough excuses, enough watching money appear and vanish like smoke. Choose discipline. Choose maturity. Choose to build something that doesn't disappear. Because money without discipline disappears. But discipline with money creates a future you can't buy any other way. Here's the final word. Money without discipline disappears. You've seen it. I've seen it. The world is filled with examples. Fortune won, then lost. Opportunity gained, then squandered. Not because there wasn't enough money, but because there wasn't enough discipline. Don't just chase money. Chase the character that can handle money. Don't just wish for wealth. Build the discipline that preserves wealth. Because if you gain the discipline, the money will come and it will stay. It's just like your house. Money is the furniture, but discipline is the foundation. You can buy couches, tables, curtains, but if the foundation is cracked, the house won't stand. Discipline is what makes the structure solid. Without it, the whole thing collapses. And here's the urgency. You don't have forever to decide. Every day spent in carelessness is a day subtracted from your future. Every day spent in discipline is a day added to it. That's the simple equation. Waste today and tomorrow shrinks. Discipline today and tomorrow expands. So make the decision. Don't drift another day. Don't wait for a raise or a lucky break or some miracle windfall. Start with what you have. Patch the leaks in your bucket. Save something. Invest something. Guard something. The habit is more important than the amount. And once you've chosen discipline, guard it. Never let abundance trick you into abandoning it. Never let ease make you soft. Hold on to discipline the way a sailor holds the wheel in a storm, because storms will come and only discipline will keep you on course. The call is simple, but it's sharp. Discipline now. Discipline with every dollar. Discipline with every choice. Because money without discipline disappears, but money with discipline becomes a tool for freedom, for generosity, for building a life of value. So here's the question. Will you let your money slip through your fingers, or will you become the kind of person who multiplies it? That choice is yours, and it begins now.